Welcome to Northwest Digital News. I'm Kevin Hunter with Chris Bornstead and Kyle Torgerson in studio today. It is Wednesday, May 23rd. And Kyle, kick us off with a weather report before we get into today's show topics.
Today's going to be a high of 73 with a low of 53. It looks like it'll be partly cloudy, but there will be sun sneaking behind those clouds. Tomorrow, it looks like there's going to be clouds in the morning, but late in the day, it looks like there's going to be sun. It's going to stay in the mid-70s all day, getting low at 66 on Saturday, but it's going to be mid-70s.
I have a request, Kyle.
Okay.
Instead of using little sunshines, I was wondering for the nice sunny days if you could just use a little pool icon. So that when I just look up there, I can see pool, pool, pool. Pool,
Chris knows he should be heading to the pool.
Much easier.
All right, the sunny skies. Chris actually are telling Kyle that he should dig out his tennis bag and tennis balls and go hit tennis balls.
Absolutely.
I never have them in my car. I always have them in the back of my car. Always in the trunk. Every time I want to, it's right there. It's great.
So you're set up.
Right next to my longboards.
I think we need to figure out how to do a live stream from the pool.
From the pool.
I saw a really nice video. Picture. Basically, they had a couple flip-flops floating in the pool, and on top of that was an extension cord, like a power strip, where they just plugged it in, and in the middle of it was like a little boom box or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I think that was just so smart. They used flip-flops to float an electrical device in the water.
All right, Chris, you have an announcement you want to share with everybody on, speaking of flip-flops.
Well, I don't know about this whole putting electronics on the flip-flop thing and put it in the pool, Kyle. I don't know if that's something about
It was a joke. Please don't do that.
Yeah, I know. On a serious topic, Chris, you have an announcement you want to share with our audience. Coming up on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, what's happening here on Northwest Digital News?
It's going to be the first ever candidate debate, where we have a deployed soldier, and we can't say where he's at because he is deployed, so all we can say is he's in theater, I think is what the term that we can use. So we have a three-way candidates race for the 19th debate for the 19th district with Brian Blake,
David Parsons,
and
Joel McIntyre.
Sorry, I haven't met the last two guys. I've met Brian Blake. So we will be doing that Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, and we will be live broadcasting it to the internet. So this will be a first ever.
A first ever for a candidate debate to involve a deployed soldier. So
this isn't going to be
really
a
cool
forum, you guys. This is going to be, when we come to our elections around here in Cowlitz County, we don't have debates. We have put your gloves on, put your mouth gear in, little knockout candidate forums where everybody's all happy and everything is just perfect. No, this is going to be a debate where these guys are going to get questions from Kevin Hunter and probably a couple other people, and they will have to answer them, and then they will have an opportunity to interact with each other. Not all of these gentlemen will be in the same room. That's the other thing that's going to be a first about this. Is not all the candidates are going to be in the same room. That's the beauty of technology and video conferences, online video conferencing. So Saturday morning, it should be a knockout, drag out. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, there's going to be...
It'll be a very, very respectful process, but an opportunity for the candidates to dig into really what's happened in the last couple of years in Olympia, and a kind of a look forward. What each of them think are important and what they're looking to do for the voters here in the 19th.
It'll be really interesting for us because... we'll get a chance to look at these guys before everybody else does and hear what their responses are. And so will the viewers that tune in. I mean, this will be an important video to share around. I'm sure it won't make one side around here, but it'll make all the other ones.
And a lot of people and please ask questions on the stream. We can even ask the candidates on stream. So if you leave a comment and want to know things, I feel like there's other people in the community that also ask the same questions. So I feel like it'd be a great service just to post questions.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, you can post questions
you guys
on
can
there.
Start posing questions now.
Yeah, if you would like to on this stream pose questions, because the more you have them in advance and we have some clue. Yeah, you can either post them on the live stream here today, and we'll try to put as much of that stuff into the broadcast for Saturday morning as possible. Or you can email, and if you would put the email up on the deal. wainfo2017@gmail.com, and that's wainfo2017@gmail.com. So feel free to email questions that you have to that email address as well. So we're going to move on to some of our show topics. kind of an interesting segue from our exciting announcement. When I want to go back to that for just a second. When you mentioned that this is the first time ever this type of candidate forum is being done.
First ever that I know of. Let me back that up. First ever that I know of.
Yes, and it is. I actually researched around the U.S. to find out if this is actually so. This isn't just the first time ever for Northwest Digital News. It's the first time ever that I know of, period. And I have a number of media contacts from around the U.S. and sent out inquiries that, hey, have you guys attempted or tried this before? And the answer was no from everyone. And then just a general search across the web found none. So when we're saying this is the first time ever, it's based on not an exhaustive research, but on a research around the country. And so thanks to Brian Blake, Dave Parsons, Joel McIntyre for making this happen. And we're very excited to bring this to our viewing audience. By the way, we are planning one for the following week, which would involve James Walsh and Aaron Fraser as well. So anyway, let's move on to today's show topics. And we're going to have some conversation today about... It's okay, it's not you.
I know.
We're going to have some conversation today about the NFL's Anthem policy. And, well, this actually got started by initially Colin Kaepernick kneeling on the sidelines, and then other NFL players following suit.
Actually, it got started. Let me back that up because I want to talk about when this really started. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
This is when this really started. The 49ers started talking about cutting Colin Kaepernick and going with the second-string quarterback because he wasn't performing well.
Mm-hmm.
And then he knelt.
And then he got on the sidelines.
Then he got on the sidelines and started kneeling. So in my mind, no matter what anybody says, I see this as a stunt by him to make himself unfireable by the 49ers. And that's exactly why he did what he did. And there's nothing that anybody can ever tell me that can convince me of anything else because he was going to be cut. He was not able to be cut after that.
Well, he seems to be unemployed today. So.
He is unemployed today.
So maybe,
it didn't pay off in the long run.
So maybe in the grand scheme of things, it did work.
They let him finish out the season. They let him go in a way that nobody could get trouble. But, I mean, he started a controversy, and he did it for what I think is selfish reasons. And here we are now.
Well, you know, the truth is that in America, everybody has the right and the freedom to express their views in whatever way, shape, or form. But there also comes into this equation some accountability from your customers, which in this case are fans of the game and fans of the NFL. And the customers and the corporate sponsors have put enough pressure on the NFL to say, people are tuning into a sporting event, not a political event.
Right.
And we don't care about political controversy. If you're not going to be about football, we're gone. And tons of them protested this and had a lot of negativity to share about it.
See it. The ACLU is just flipping out this morning. You know, this is shutting down free speech. No. These guys are free to talk all week long on their sports podcasts. And, you know, just don't. We are trying to watch football on a Sunday and relax with our families and enjoy a game. We don't want to talk about politics or what you believe in.
You know what's interesting about that, Chris, is a place of business has, in fact, you see this on many businesses places, as we have the right to refuse to provide business and or service to any customer.
That's not true anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. But businesses actually do have the right to not do business with whoever they want to. They actually do have the right to.
You could be sued for saying no. Just remember
depending upon who the person is on the other side of it.
That's right. Yeah. Depending on, we're getting all kinds of discriminative over here.
Yeah, and you have the right to either employ or not employ. The employer has the right to employ or not employ people that they want to. So all I'm saying is that if your views are such that get you booted off of your football team, and if your views from the team are such that you get booted out of the NFL, you probably still have the right to say what you said, but you'll be saying it at home, not on the sidelines of an NFL game.
One of these guys when they are not playing football.
Yeah.
I'll listen to them anytime they want to.
And you know what?
Send me an email, send me an audio message, call me on the phone, make a video, put it out there on YouTube like everybody else does. But when you're working, I want to watch your work. I don't want to listen to what you. I want to listen to your politics.
You know what the truth is any one of these NFL athletes, any one of them could contact a local news station and say, hey, I'd like to come onto your station and talk to you about what I see as
Absolutely.
Whatever the issue is. And they will be glad to have them. I mean, how many of these news stations are putting, even contracting to have their own specific reporter on the sidelines to have the right to talk to these players?
Because that football player has to be saying the right thing or the media won't give them airtime.
That's true.
In some cases, especially when it comes to political stuff, if he is going to get out there and talk about something that doesn't jive with what the mainstream media wants to say, they aren't going to give him time. Look what they did to Kanye. So
that's true.
You know, I mean,
that's true.
All kinds of different ways to look at this. I mean, it's just, what do you do?
Yeah, they're still gonna interfere with somebody's so-called right to free speech.
That's correct.
Yes. Well, anyway, let's share this video that actually is published by the NFL here. It's on ESPN for those of you that want to go watch this yourself as well on your own time. But roll the video from ESPN.
From our standpoint, this is a great opportunity to continue that partnership with our players and keep the focus on the progress and the programs that we think are so important in the communities. We're proud of that support, and we think that that's how change is really going to be made. Clearly, our objective as a league and to all 32 clubs, which was unanimous, is that we want people to be respectful at the national anthem. We want people to stand. That's all personnel, and make sure that they treat this moment in a respectful fashion. That's something that we think we owe. We've been very sensitive in making sure that we give players choices, but we do believe that that moment is an important moment and one that we are going to focus on.
There you have it, the right from Goodell on what the NFL is planning on doing with their anthem policy. So, Chris, Kyle, do you have anything more to offer on the anthem policy of the NFL?
Go for it.
If you couldn't really hear the video, there's also a quote about what he said. We want people to be respectful of the national anthem. Commissioner Roger Goodell. We want people to stand. That's all personal, and make sure that they treat this moment in a respectful fashion. That's something we think we owe. But we were also very sensitive to give players choices. Now, if you think about it on a business model, right? Like, let's say the NFL was like McDonald's, right? If someone doesn't do something, it's not the employee that's doing it, it's McDonald's doing it, right? So NFL's probably taking a hard hit, and obviously they are, because technically their employees, if you think about it, are basically representing NFL, and this is what NFL is turning into. And it's no lie or anything that NFL hasn't been doing good for a while. Even before this whole kneeling for the national anthem or anything, they haven't been good. I've read places that NFL is like basically losing money. It's a bad place to invest right now. It used to be booming, used to be real good, but lately not so much.
And politicizing the sport wouldn't be a way of helping it.
Like Ben and Jerry's. You seen Ben and Jerry, their Twitter, I think it was their Twitter, where they literally went full political. Now everyone just kind of stays away from them, which really sucks. I love Ben and Jerry.
Now, you talking about the cat and the mouse, or Ben and Jerry, the ice cream?
That's Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Jerry.
Yes.
All right. My bad.
What?
That's Tom and Jerry.
It's okay. We'll re-record it. We're not live or anything.
That's
I
all
was
right.
in the kitchen the other day. I said something about Bugs Bunny, and my daughter goes, "Who's Bugs Bunny?" And I went, "What?"
You don't know Bugs Bunny.
No,
Okay.
you know what I found interesting, Kevin, is that rereading some of these stories this morning, I see repeatedly over that it wasn't about disrespecting our national anthem. It wasn't about disrespecting our vets. Well, if that comment is true, then kneel some other time during your time of being on the field. Kneel at halftime, kneel before the game, kneel after the game. Why did you have to target the national anthem? That leads us to believe your actions, not ours, your actions lead us to believe that, yes, you are targeting that by protesting at that time. I would also like to point out that there are certain religions out there that don't support the national anthem, they don't support the Pledge of Allegiance. but they still have and show enough respect to stand at the back of the room when those things are going on in their presence. They don't kneel, they don't walk out of the room and get all disgusted. They at least stand and show a little bit of respect. And that's all we want, you know?
Yeah.
Like I said, protest when you're not supposed to be on the field. We'll listen.
And to show how serious NFL is, all 32 owners approved the policy. All 32. There's none of them that said no. All of them.
Oh, the ACLU's already got everybody all whipped up into a frenzy saying, oh, the players union should fight this. And I'm sure the players union will have their attorneys in court and this will be overturned. And we can't believe that they're taking away people's free speech like this. Wait, nobody's speech is being taken away. I mean, it's like similar to my union phone call yesterday where the union lady and I had to stop. You know, I'm a member of a union, healthcare union. And they called and told me that this certain group of people that I am familiar with hated caregivers, and they hate caregivers. I was just like, okay, I'm going to have to stop you right there. You know, and this is my union telling me that these people hate me when I know differently. I said, no, they just have different political ideals than you guys. And if you're going to continue to badmouth these folks, then we're going to end this conversation. And we ended up ending the conversation because I let them know. They called for my opinion on things. And I answered their questions, and they didn't like it, and they ended up having to hang up the phone on me because I told them I wasn't appreciative of them advocating for the Seattle head tax with my voice. I don't live in Seattle, so how can you guys use my voice to advocate for it? You know, and then, well, we really researched these issues, and first of all, she didn't know what the head tax was. But anyway, you know, politics, whatever.
If you're going to talk about something, please research.
Yeah,
please.
Don't call me on the phone and start telling me that these organizations hate caregivers when I have friends that are in the organization. I know better.
In high school, one thing I've learned in science class and researching, look at 3 sources, depending on what it is. Look at I think it's like first point of view or something like that, where it's literally someone that was literally there, or you're literally there, and then there's one that's where someone is there, and they write about it and you read it. Research as much as you can. Look at every political view about subjects. Look at all the things.
Even the ones that you don't agree with, it's important to read those too so you understand what the fight is.
Because it's a lot of things affect a lot of people. Seattle has a lot of population, right? It's crazy.
Yep.
So it's kind of an important subject to know about, and instead of just spewing out things that are not true. Because it affects a lot more people than...
Yeah, I was surprised that she didn't know what the head tax was because she was calling from Seattle. It's like our union.
Well, you know, in the defense of people on a bunch of these political issues, there's a lot of people who are the so-called political operatives, whether they're highly involved with politics or even in elected office and or highly involved with the various parties. Of course, most of those people are going to know what the issues per se are, but there's a really good chunk of the population of people that are so bored stiff and frustrated, disgusted, whatever you want to call it, with the processes that happen behind the scenes and everything else in these parties. They almost have no interest in it whatsoever. And people in politics, people who are active in politics, have to understand that they've lost a ton of credibility because of that kind of stuff. So many people, even though you'd think anybody in Seattle ought to know about the head tax, I'll bet you we could go on the streets in Seattle and find all kinds of people have no idea what that is.
Well, yeah, because it doesn't affect them. And then that's what my complaint was to my wife when we got off the phone, because it was on speakerphone because I was driving down the road. She's like, boy, she got an educated person on the other end of the phone about politics, and boy, they don't like that, do they? You know, because she's a union member too. And I was like, hey, you know, don't call me and start saying things that aren't true. I'm gonna call you out on it every time. So. These guys, you know, they get these people on the phone. They're union members, bless their hearts, and they're trying to do what they think is good, but they aren't educated on the issues that they're calling me about, and that's a no-no.
All right, so let's move on to our second major topic here on Northwest Digital News, and that is what we're hearing about the John Kerry shadow government. Now, here's an interesting thing that people should be aware of. You guys are familiar with the Logan Act, right?
I am familiar with it now.
Okay. So for our listeners, if you would bring up, find the Logan Act sheet Kyle, if you would, and bring that up, some details on it. Logan Act was enacted January 30th, 1799. So this
it's been around a while.
It's been around a little while. Yeah, it's not right there at the top.
Must be a good piece of knowledge.
Yeah, it's not a new thing. However, the Logan Act hasn't been used to prosecute anyone. But let's just share as to like why this is put into place and what it actually says. So in the Logan Act, it's United States federal law that criminalizes negotiation by unauthorized persons with foreign governments having a dispute with the United States. The intent behind the act is to prevent unauthorized negotiations from undermining the government's position.
Oh my gosh.
The act was passed following George Logan's unauthorized negotiations with France in 1798 and was signed into law by President John Adams in 1799. So what John Kerry is doing right now, and this is actually connected with the Iran nuclear deal, he's going out and actually negotiating and talking to Iran behind the scenes. He's also done this apparently with France and other.
I believe the headlines are that he's trying to save the deal.
He's trying to save his deal that he negotiated on this thing. And of course, he's, applauding all the merits of this. There's a ton of discussion about how this is bad. And with the time frame that was put into the deal, with the resources that were given them, you have to be extremely biased to not see that there's a pretty significant opportunity for Iran to develop a nuclear weapon.
Yeah, I seriously almost got Kyle in trouble. Remember when I told him to call Kim Jong and get him here?
Yeah. Did you make that phone call, Kyle?
I could have totally got you prosecuted under the Logan Act, Kyle. I'm really sorry about that.
You were trying to get Kyle to negotiate with the foreign hostile government.
I'm still trying to pay for the better weather. So I mean, like, baby steps.
All right. Do we have any video footage on any of the John Kerry stuff? No. Well, let's put this page. I'm sorry. Let's put this page up on the screen so that people. This is actually published by National Review. Here's a really interesting thing for our viewers to be aware of, and this actually goes back even to the Anthem policy of the NFL. You know how hard it is to find links published by any of the forms of media that are out there, and you have to walk around CNN because of their mantra. You have to walk around Fox News because of their leanings. And then you're trying to find, in the balance of what's left out there, where do you find somebody who's publishing the news? And it's not to say that CNN never has the news, but we know what they're all about. And it's not to say that Fox News never has the news, but we also know what their leanings are. And we're trying to bring more neutral sources of information, actual journalism to the table. And it's a hard thing to accomplish. So many of these places are leaning one direction or the other.
That's why I was bringing up, like, look at both sides when you look it up. Because, like, each side, like, I forgot what topic I was researching, but I read something that was more on the right side, and it just sounded way different than the article that the left put out. It just sounded way different. Like, it just felt like a different thing completely. So you got to figure out what cancels out, and it's just whatever. If you find a news source that's neutral, wow, it literally is the best thing ever. But it's so hard to shift through the information. Yeah.
And when it comes to politics, not only is the conversation that happens between opposing parties very often dishonest, and so subsequently then when you get networks that are very clearly anti-conservative, or networks that are very clearly anti anything to do with, and I'm just going to say the Democrats in general, because I'm not talking about the very progressive left that people understand, because that's a group of people that I have no problem whatsoever saying that they have a pretty big disregard for the truth, and have their own truth. And there's a element of people on the right side of the aisle that have that same situation as well. And so when I mentioned that there's this dishonest conversation that happens between the two major parties, there's actually a ton of dishonest conversation that even happens within those parties too. And witnessing and seeing, I'm not going to go into any details, but witnessing and seeing the highly disrespectful behavior that happens even among the party people themselves is just mind-boggling. That respectful, logical, calm, collected, informative, educational conversation is so hard to come by.
And especially when all they do is like throw in shade at each other, just like negative viewpoints at each other. It's like they're very condescending toward each other. Like, how are you supposed to work together and figure out what's going on if all you're doing is just like, here's a little bit of the facts, also you're dumb. It's so hard to just conversate with someone, to converse. Conversate, that's a cool word. Yeah. Converse. It's so hard to converse with someone when all they're doing is just trying to like put you down because you're dumb. It's how are you supposed to work together when all that is just name calling? There's no facts, there's no nothing. It's just name calling.
Well, they could actually be factual that the person is dumb. I mean,
You have to speak up just a little bit, Chris.
That person, that person could be dumb. I mean, that could be factual, but I mean, that's debatable.
Yeah, but
Or
if you
uninformed, perhaps, is a better way.
if you bring in negative feelings, though, it's like someone's not gonna like actually work towards you. All it's gonna do is just make it harder. So like, when people try and sway other people to their views, because that's basically what it is. No one's trying to come together. All they're trying to do is like, I want you to think like me. You're dumb, right? That's all it is on both sides. They want each other to think like that.
So let me just share, because we have talked about this before on the broadcast. Let's talk about for a moment the DISC personality profile. DISC. If you can find that quadrant really quick, just flash it on the screen so people know what we're talking about. So DISC personality. Just a really quick overview on what's here. DISC, yeah, that's a good graphic. Put that up on the screen. So on the top of the thing, and Kyle here, yeah, it's got it up there. On the top of this, you see active, passive. On the top, think of the D's and the I's as being extroverted, very outgoing people. And think of the S's and the C's on the bottom as being very introverted type people. And then when you look on the left side of the quadrant, you have the D and the C's there, very task-oriented people. These are people who tend to go, I want to do this, and their focus is more the task than it is the people, and that's why they tend to say and do things to throw other people under the bus, because it's not about people. It's about, I have an objective to accomplish, and it's okay if I yell and scream and call people names and whatever else to get it done, because I'm just trying to, the end justifies the means. Then on the right side of this, the I's and the S's are people focused type individuals. So you'll see on the I is very much a people-oriented, extroverted type person. On the left, you see a task-oriented, extroverted person. But for a high D, as an example, these are the kind of people that if you're going down the highway, have you ever had somebody come up behind you when you're already going over the speed limit?
Oh, yeah.
And they're flashing the lights at you and beeping the horn and saying, get off of my highway.
I slow down.
Yeah, that's a high D personality that's behind you. And whether they recognize it or not, they offend literally 70% of the people they come in contact
Slowing
with.
down in front of that guy would be what type of personality trait on that list?
Actually, that's a little bit of the C that does that, because the I really doesn't care. The I just looks in the mirror and goes, what a dork, and just continues on, because the I really doesn't freaking care. And that
How about the guy that whips out the gun and starts road raging? What's that going? Because that happens quite a bit.
Okay, and then the C personality that's down there in the bottom. This is the introverted person, but their number one quality is about crossing the T's, dotting the I's, being right. Having to be right about absolutely everything. And if you tell a high C personality that they're wrong about anything, they blow up. On the D on the upper side there, the important thing for them is about winning. And you go, is right and winning the kind of this? No, it's not actually the same thing. But here's
win and not be right.
But a lot of people who lead with a high D personality, their secondary personality style tends to be a C. So then you have this person who everything is about winning, and the next most important thing is about being right. And when you have people describe somebody who's generally an a-hole in public meetings and things like that, that's your high D personality who follows with a C.
When I get into arguments with people and stuff like that, I usually don't want to be right, because I'm arguing something that I think is bad. It's like, no, trust me, I don't want to be right about this, but I am.
So let's visit briefly about the people on the right side. The I is the outgoing people person, so they'll tend to, if problems are brought to their attention, they'll tend to look at a bunch of different solutions for it. Hey, cool, it's a problem. Let's solve the problem. Let's look at, and they don't just stop at one solution, where you sometimes see that on other people who just go, I just want to get the job done. The I will tend to look at many different options, and down in the bottom is the S personality, and this is the person who's the peacekeeper. So it doesn't matter that a issue is out on the table and probably should be talked about and resolved, which the I personality tends to do with respect to others. But the S will go, hey, Fred and John, let's just all get along. So let's talk about this later, or let's deal with it later, or let's table this till it's anything to get the conflict off the table. That's the peacemaker. So you don't get to talk about that today.
No, but it will be news in the future. There will be some breaking news.
Chris has a envelope that has some documents he's planning on sending out, which will be part of the news, I guess, later.
At some point, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how far it goes.
Does it involve politics? Has an impact on politics?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say
Oh, okay.
Of course it does.
All right, so let's enough about the political stuff and enough about John Kerry, a shadow government, and a very clear conflict for anybody who is confused about the Logan Act. And the reason,
can I add something about
yeah,
that?
go ahead.
I mean, why isn't he being prosecuted? Why? I mean, because clearly what he's doing is something that he shouldn't be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And if this was any other person, you know, in any other time doing this, they would be in big trouble. So why is it that we have John Kerry out there literally breaking the law?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, doing things that he's not supposed to. I mean, it's treacherous, treasonous actions, and nobody's doing anything about it.
Well,
why is nobody doing anything about it?
So just a little backstory on the Logan Act. Nobody's ever been prosecuted underneath this law.
Well,
And in part because they say that there are some vague elements of it, and potentially it's unconstitutional because there's some vague elements of it. If all that is true, get rid of it and write something that's not vague.
right.
Okay.
I mean, if somebody, yeah.
But to answer your question, what should be done is the Department of Justice should be immediately issuing him a cease and desist order with
Could
with
they
the.
have already done that and we just don't know?
It's possible.
Okay.
But they should be issuing him a cease and desist order, and with the ramifications of both fine and jail time if he continues with his actions. He's completely out of line. And
It completely undermines the people that are actually in active negotiations right now. And that, you know, that this is the kind of stuff that, regardless of which side does it, this is the type of stuff that the American people are tired of seeing.
mm-hmm.
And they're tired of seeing people get away with doing this type of stuff.
I think it's funny
Well,
that
some of us anyway. I mean, if you're clearly on the left, then you're going to support this guy. It doesn't matter whether he's right or wrong. You're still going to support him.
what I was going to say is it's funny, not funny as in a funny way, but comical as a ironic and perhaps whatever way that we have John Kerry, who is a former Secretary of State and now thinks in some way, shape, or form he's authorized to act on behalf of people and interfere with this thing. We actually have a local issue going on in this area as well that 4 former commissioners think their opinion matters, and these are all guys who were up for election and voted down
By the people.
by the people here locally, and the last one of which was a recent election here just a couple of years ago, whose signature is also on there, and I'm not going to say any names, but an individual who,
Is this person running for county commissioner in 2 years?
I have no idea. People are speculating that the answer to that is yes.
Okay, I know who you're talking about.
But anyway, my point with all of this being is that a ton of broken promises, a lot of bullying of people who showed up to public meetings, et cetera, et cetera. These guys were thrown out of office for many very obvious reasons in their elections. I got news for you guys. A lot of people don't care one bit what your opinion is on any of these local issues.
Yeah.
So, newsflash, don't care. And so we're more interested in boiling down into the actual facts and information around this situation and helping people make intelligent decisions on information, and then having logical and respectful conversation about this in the process. That would all be much appreciated. But here's this is actually this local issue. This actually has to do with a landfill that's currently in conversation here in Cowlitz County. And to share with people, there was a update on this given last night by one of the commissioners, and I won't single anybody out, but an update given by one of the commissioners. And he made something really, really clear to one of the people who asked him about the sale of the landfill. Is he says, repeat after me, the landfill is not up for sale.
Hang on a second. I would like to I would like to say this too, that whoever is saying that the landfill is going to be sold, because that fear is exactly the one that is being, that where everybody.
That's what they're pounding into, and
right,
it's misinformation.
Right. And that's not true. The sale of the landfill is off the table, you guys. It's off the table. It's not going to be sold.
Yeah. And the public-private partnership that they're looking at now, they actually already have a public-private partnership in place with the Willis brothers and Waste Control. And it's one that very clearly, from the opinion of many different people involved, that say is not working. In fact, it just in the last 4 years since the county took over the ownership of that landfill, 2 of the remaining cells that are in the landfill have already been filled, which at best projects the landfill of having a 50-year life cycle.
I read, somebody posted a very interesting comment on Commissioner Mortenson's page. I believe it was Frank King, who asked if it was time to reevaluate the contract with Waste Control here now in Longview. And I'm going to say yes.
Absolutely yes.
I believe it is, because we're finding out that they aren't qualified to run the dump up there. That's part of the problem, was that they don't have the qualified people that they need to run the dump too. And so, I think it's time. I mean, they're really throwing a monkey wrench in this for the people.
I think the players that are behind the scenes that are pushing some of this information out there, that they need to come clean about what it is their concerns actually are. Because the things that I have heard expressed so far, it just doesn't stack up. I'd like to know what issues, if any, from the Radakovich landfill that people are applying as far as the headquarters landfill right now today.
They're afraid about the cleanup afterwards.
Yeah, so I'd like to know what those issues are. I'd be glad to have somebody comment on our stream as to what they think those issues are. I'd love to hear somebody explain why they think a private public partnership is one that can't be trusted, because people have said that at various city council meetings that have shared this, but contracts can be broken, et cetera, et cetera. And interestingly enough, the people making the comments were people who have either current businesses or past businesses, and the only thing that made their businesses even work were contracts and partnerships and business relationships they had with private party people. That's what made them get to where they're at today.
Why, as a citizen, why wouldn't we want the best possible deal that we can get?
That absolutely should be the best possible deal the county can
get. If that includes, contracting it out, why not? Can we get a better rate if we renegotiate for them to do all our trash? I don't know, but I think that was a good comment. I mean, why people are trying to shut this down, and I mean, I haven't made up my mind on this yet, but I have read quite a bit of the stuff. We've done shows on it, and we have other shows coming up on it, and
Here's something that I want to share with people that you may or may not know. I would really like Waste Control to come out publicly and share why the tipping fee here in Cowlitz County is 1/3 of the cost of the tipping fee in Lewis County, which this is a significant portion of the cost of curbside service, them coming out and getting your garbage.
I don't know why our services are cheaper.
No. Here's what I'm saying. The tipping fee in Cowlitz County is 1/3 the cost as it is in Lewis County. And yet, the average curbside cost here in Cowlitz County is within 30 cents of being identical to what it is in Lewis.
So
what I'm saying is that our trash collection services, which right now are being handled by Waste Control, are exorbitantly high.
Kind of like our PUD stuff, right?
Yeah, so I'd love for the folks from Waste Management to step forward and explain why their collection fees are so high, making the curbside service be the same expense that it is in Lewis, even though in Lewis County their tipping fee is 90 some bucks, and here in Cowlitz County it's 30 some bucks. Why do we have the same curbside fee?
Somebody's got to make a profit.
Somebody is making a really handsome profit off of curbside collection, because that's just so when there's conversation around, there's two aspects of the actual charge. There's the landfill tipping fee, and there's this collection services and stuff that lead up to that fee. I'd like somebody from Waste Control to explain why, although we have 1/3 the expense at the landfill, the fees are actually identical at the curbside. That should not be the case.
If someone can explain that in the comments, that'd be great.
That'd be great. Explain it in the comments. That'd be great.
One thing that makes me the happiest is reading comments and when people comment. So please comment. I love reading comments.
Reading the comments is the best.
And hey, I want to give a special shout out to people on Twitch TV, Patreon, YouTube, the other platforms that we broadcast to regularly as well, because that crowd continues to grow. More and more followers there all the time. And I'm not going to give the names in the places yet, but we were just in the last couple of days contacted by a organization that does a weekly national show that deals with a number of high-level people from all around the country. And we are we can't give you any of the details yet, but we are on the cusp of announcing a really cool deal / partnership with Northwest Digital News and another organization out there that we're having conversation with right now.
I'm really excited about this debate that we have going on Saturday morning, too. Is there going to be coffee? Because that's kind of important.
Yeah, there will be coffee, and we hope that those joining us as well on video conference will have coffee on their end, too, so nobody can say they don't have coffee.
You know what else I like? I love making the stream better. As you can tell, like from the first time I got here, you know, it was just, we've evolved the show tremendously. Now we're like streaming to so many things. As you can tell, I got these cool little headphones, so the audio's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I'll try to make it good. So if you're on Twitch, one thing that I did add in the little description spot is a suggestion box, and you can comment it one a day so people can't spam it, but it goes straight towards us through our email and stuff like that. And you can just tell us, like, what do you think could make our show better? And on Facebook and on YouTube and all that, you can even email us. What can we do better? Do you want to see some more something? Do you want to see less of something? Tell us what we want. We want to make the show great. I want to make the show great.
We need Gandalf's beard back.
Yeah, Gandalf's beard.
So if you're on Twitch, use the suggestion box. Comment all the time on any platform. Ask questions, because you know there's probably people in the future that want to ask questions, but they won't be able to because we already aired the thing. So ask questions now, and we can answer them, and it'll just better information.
If you're going to ask, and also speaking of the debate, if you're going to submit some questions for Representative Blake or
McIntyre and Parsons,
or Mr. Marsons, please do that no later than tomorrow. Tomorrow, because we have to get these questions to the candidates Friday night.
Yep.
So, first ever, what are we calling this, debate, where there's somebody deployed.
It'll be a live streamed video conference debate.
I'm just really excited. I mean, like I said, it's a debate, not one of those wussy candidate forums. This is debate.
Yes. Looking forward to it, and should be a really good time. There's two other things that I want to mention that we've had some brief conversation on, but I want to give some updates because I don't know how much I've shared with each of you, but also for our viewing audience who may or may not be aware. For a number of years now, I have published a fair amount of content in the car business. So it's around car buying process, car insurance, all the various elements of the car deal. I have a number of videos that cover various aspects of this. Two like really cool things that have happened here just recently, and when I say recently, like in the last 30 days, is a national firm that offers every insurance provider in every city in every state around the United States is interested in doing a partnership with us to talk about how people get better insurance rates on their cars and how they go about doing that and the process. And they did this because of video content that I have published on how to get better car insurance rates. And so we're going to have experts from the field join us here on Northwest Digital News to talk about that. So that's an element that will come up. And then also one of the things that I have shared on a lot of this car content, and some of which we've done here on Northwest Digital News, is talked about the fact that there are good car dealers around the country. And then there are a number of them that are these scurrilous people that do what they do, rip people off, lie, cheat, deceive every step of the way. And it's what I call the setup. From the moment you walk through the door, they're setting you up. And so the reason why that's important is I actually have a couple of dealer owners now, and there's more that are coming to, that they're reaching out to them, that are coming to the play here now. But these are dealer owners who want to join us via video conference and not only legitimize the stuff that I have shared out there and published on YouTube, but to answer people's questions directly, how you get through this process of buying a car without getting ripped off. So they are good people in the car business who are going, we want to help clean this business model up and love what you're doing, and we want to be a part of it. How about that, guys?
If you're thinking about buying a car, if you just want to see what's going on, I also posted the video, how to beat the car dealer finance office. I posted that link in the comments, so check it out.
Very important step. You absolutely got to know what's going on in the dealer finance office, because as reported by a software company that dealers use all around the country, DealerTrack, dealer finance is the #1 profit producing center in the dealership. That includes consideration of parts, service, and sales. Finance is #1. So when you let your guard down, you go, all this negotiation over the price of the accessories is finally behind me. And all this situation with negotiating the price and my trade-in, it's finally done. Now I get to go in and sign out of my car. No, that's just like you've been swimming around in the minnow tank, and now they're going to put you over in the shark tank to go for the same swim. Yeah, you got to be aware of what's going on in the finance office. Sharks, and they are not even in the least little bit.
They're there to take as big a bite out of you as they can.
Special shout out here just moments ago, a new subscriber on our channel, Leslie Thompson. Thanks, Leslie, for subscribing to our channel here on Northwest Digital News. That's over on YouTube.
And talking about the car stuff, just examples what we have leasing versus buying a car. So if you want to figure out like what's the difference, we have a video on that. We also have how to get big discounts off MSRP from car dealers. So you could probably save maybe $2,000 at least, or $2,000 or less than $2,000.
I have had many people email me after a car deal they got done, and they had walked through, a lot of the content we've published here or content that I have on other channels. And the average number is around $5,000 is what they saved by taking the time to do the homework, as recommended by content I've published before and stuff they've learned here off of Northwest Digital News. $5,000 is the average number. So pretty big deal.
It kind of happens when you do your homework.
Kind of happens when you do your homework. Informed, knowledgeable people always get a much better shake at the dealership. Well, let's talk about a few local things, and then we're going to conclude our broadcast here because we're just about out of time.
Oh, that's your fault.
Want to mention to people that coming up soon, June 18 and 19 is actually the first week of the YMCA summer day camps, starting here locally, and then they run all the way through the week of August 20th. So some really cool summer day camps. They have this first one starting on June 18th is the Superhero Week. Then they have Outdoor Week. Then July 9th is the beginning of the Hollywood Movie Week. And by the way, Northwest Digital News is going to go out and broadcast and air their Hollywood Week. And the theme, I understand, is Jurassic Park. So
Wait, what?
We're going to go out and do a broadcast on the week of July 9th at the camp that the YMCA has for Hollywood Movie Week. And all these kids putting on the show Jurassic Park. So
I cannot express how excited these kids are, because they're like, oh, we're going to get recorded. We're going to be on TV. We're going to be famous. They're so excited.
Yeah, they are super fired up. And if you missed the interview that we had them on. It was here about a week or so ago. You can go back to our channel. Just look up the YMCA Summer Day Camps, Northwest Digital News, and you'll find Les and Abby, Nicholas, Sabella, Owen, and Jack, who joined us here in studio. So then also end of June is the Rusty Scuppers Pirate Days, which is coming up in Westport on the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of June. And then I also wanted to mention the Rock in the Docks Summer Concert Series start in Goble, Oregon. That's actually just right across the border from Longview and just south on Highway 30, a short distance. So I think it's about 20 minutes drive from here. But for bands who want to get into the summer events, it's not too late. You can reach out to them on their website, rockinthedocksconcerts.com. That's where you can reach Ryan Ryder, isn't it? Isn't that correct? Ryan Ryder? And so get into the Rock on the Docks concerts. And the first big show is coming up on July 4th. It's going to be over there. So the venue can handle about 500 people. Get over there and enjoy your Rock on the Docks concert there on July 4th. The only thing that Ryan said was bring a collapsible chair or those nice little handy chairs you throw on your shoulder and take places with you to events. Bring that with you.
I have something I'd like to bring up talking about bands. Talking about bands, Kelso High School is going to have a jazz band show June 2nd. Now, let me tell you, there's going to be a special guest, artist Dimitri Matheny. I've had a pleasure to actually play with him. He's a flugelhorn player, and oh my God, he can play. Just a little backstory, me and my band, we went on XNXX radio station to play. It was just three songs, three classic jazz things, and with that is they get a professional jazz player. So that was Dimitri Matheny for us, and they pair it with us, like a little combo group, which is high schoolers, and it shows them how to play like a professional jazz player. Well, he liked Kelso so much, he's going to do a concert every single year with us. So check out Dimitri Matheny and the Kelso Jazz Band. I believe Kelso Jazz Band at Mount Hood, they had that competition there, the 40th one. Their combo group got third, actually, in the combo division, which is amazing. So if you like good jazz, you like to support things, you love band, check it out. I believe that is at the Rose Center at, Rose Center for the Arts. That's at LCC. LCC at 7 p.m. And that's June 2nd.
June 2nd, 7 p.m. Rose Center for the Arts, the Kelso Jazz Band with guest artist Dimitri Matheny. Cool.
I cannot express how cool this is. Okay, yeah. Check it out.
Very cool. All right, well, let's add that into our local calendar so that we are mentioning that leading up to June 2nd. If you have a concert yourself or anything that's going on in the local area that you want mentioned here on the end of our shows when we talk about local news, we'll be glad to do that.
I always talk about Kelso. I like to talk about the other high schools too. I'm not trying to play favorites, but I just don't know much about the other ones.
Yeah. So if you know a lot about Ari Long, Mark Morris, even concerts that LCC themselves are doing or other events going on in the community, feel free to share with us. We'll talk about it till it happens. That is going to do it here for our show on Northwest Digital News. Enjoy all the beautiful weather that we've been experiencing out there locally. On behalf of myself, Kevin Hunter, Chris Bornstead, Kyle Torgerson, thanks for joining us here on Northwest Digital News. Till next time, take care.